Today's topic is mourning to mourning to mourning. Welcome to Purposeful Pressure. I'm your host, Renee. So, at this point, I didn't even realize, I didn't stop to take a moment to understand that I was mourning, that I was hurt. I didn't even realize that basically what mourning looked like. At this point, we have had 3 failed attempts in trying to conceive. All I knew is I wanted to keep going. So here it is, September 2019, and we're gearing up for our 3rd round of IVF. And we were made aware that we would be using our last embryo. So we were just desperate. We were so hopeful, that this time things would turn out differently. And I have been praying continuously about this. I have been asking, I have been knocking, I have been seeking, and I know God hears me when I pray. So I just believed and I just hoped that, things would be different this time around. So we ended up flying out again to the IVF clinic, and we did the whole rigmarole. We did the procedure, all went well. We flew back home. We waited 2 weeks. Then I went down to the lab, did my blood test, and then I waited for them to call me back. So, per usual, I get the phone call from the lab, from the clinic, and they said, hello, we have your test results. And I'm like, okay, I'm trying to brace myself for whatever it is that's, about to come out next. And they said, congratulations, you are pregnant. And then I go, no way. And then we're going back and forth. Yes, you are. Congratulations. We're so happy for you, right? So I say, finally, my mourning has changed. And now it is joy in the morning. So I'm like, God has basically answered us. He's answered my prayers, and he's doing exactly what his word says that he would do. I'm just to the moon happy. I can't wait, till my husband gets off work and I can surprise him and tell him, the news that I just received. So at this point, I just feel like singing, y'all. I'm like, yay. My heart is just so full of joy. And I'm like, things are just falling into place. I was finally getting the family that I prayed for. And it was all God, nothing but God. I'm just giving God the glory for all of this, that's just now happening. And so at this point, after the phone call, I had 2 medical appointments. Well, 1 medical and 1 personal appointment. So I had a physical therapy appointment. And so I get to the physical therapy appointment, and I tell the therapist, just be gentle with me. You're dealing with a pregnant woman, right? And I'm just happy, right? And so they're like, okay. And so I had a massage appointment right after my physical therapy appointment. So I tell them, hey, just be gentle with me, because it's possible, it's highly likely that you're dealing with a pregnant woman, right now. And they're like, okay, we'll do our best. I'm just telling everybody, just, be gentle with me. And I'm just happy. I'm just excited, right? And so after that, I then go to the store. So I'm going to pick up, a few things and put it in a little gift bag just to, surprise my husband. Right. So I go do that, and I wrap it all up, put it in a box, and my husband comes home, and I said, hey, sit down, I have something to tell you. And so I said, I have you this gift first, so just go ahead and open it. So he opens it, and it's a onesie in there, some booties in there, and then I ended up getting a home pregnancy test. So I took it, and it was positive. So he looks at it, and he's like, babe, you're pregnant. I was like, yes, so we go through the whole excitement thing, and I say, look, the doctor, the lab tech has already called, and she told me that the blood test was positive, that I'm pregnant. So we were like, yay, God did it, and all this kind of stuff, just celebrating. It feels like, and it is a time to celebrate when you get this kind of news after everything that we've been through. So later that week, the infertility doctor had called and stated, hey, we want you to come in and do a second blood test, just so we can make sure that your hormone numbers are up, or whatever numbers need to be up, just for further confirmation that you are pregnant. So I was like, okay. So I went in and I did the second blood test, and then they ended up calling me back immediately, and they said, hey ma'am, everything looks good with your blood test. It came back positive again. Your numbers have risen. It is a definitive thing that you are pregnant. So congratulations again. And so I couldn't wait to tell my husband that news too. So I ended up telling him that. And I mean, all is well. Everything that we are talking about is baby this and baby that, and let's go get this and let's go get that. We're just basically excited, right? And so we're just on cloud nine, just talking about our new news. And it was just, I don't know, it's so hard to put into words how relieved we were with the news. So before we hung up the phone, the doctor and I, she said, okay, so what we're going to do next is make you an appointment for your 6-week pregnancy appointment. So I said, oh, great, right? I get my first appointment. I get my first 6-week appointment, right? So I tell my husband, I was like, hey, you need to take off for our first baby appointment. And so he does that, he takes off, and then I put in to take off, and we're just, excited. So we are just on, again, cloud nine. And the following 3 weeks are just a breeze. We're still excited, and I'm like, oh, I don't feel anything, and I'm just still excited, and the husband is just, rubbing my belly, and I'm like, I'm only, 2 weeks at this point. So needless to say, we make it to week 5. So week 5, I'm at work, and I started to feel a little weird as in I think my cycle might come on, that kind of weird. How you get a little feeling, you're like, okay, this is day 1, so I'm preparing for my cycle to come up. That's how I was feeling. I was feeling like something may happen down there, right? So I go to the bathroom to check. Nothing was there. I wiped, a little bit spotty, very light in color. So I was like, I don't know what's going on. So I go back to my office. I call the IVF doctor, or was it the infertility? I can't remember which one I called, but I called, and they said that, well, that's normal. It's probably implantation bleeding, so don't worry about it. You should be worried if you feel like a heavy gush leaving your body or something like that. And if you feel that, then come go to your local doctor immediately or go to the ER immediately. So I was like, okay. So I'm sitting there and I'm still feeling weird, right? So I was like, I don't think something is not sitting right with me. So I go back to the bathroom probably about 20 minutes later, and I do see a little residue. It wasn't much, so again, I just chalk it up to them saying, it's probably implantation bleeding, no need to worry. So I was worried, but not really worried. I was still hopeful at this point. So I go back to my desk, and I just started praying. I started praying for healing over my body. I started begging God that this is not a loss. I started begging God that this is not what it feels like it is. And there were just no other words that I could offer up to God besides, please don't let this be happening. Please, have mercy on me. So after that prayer, not long afterwards, maybe another 20 minutes, it happened. It happened. I felt it. I felt the big gush release, and I was shocked. I was, of course, scared, and so I ended up calling the doctor again, and I said I felt this big gush, and I'm nervous. And she said, come in immediately, come see us. So I ended up, wrapping myself up in a jacket that I had left at work. And I told my supervisor that there was an emergency, that I need to leave right away. So I did that. I got in the car. I ended up calling my husband, and I said, I need you to meet me, at the doctor's office. I think I'm having a miscarriage. And so he ended up meeting me there. And the doctor confirmed that is what was happening, and she did an ultrasound, and she didn't see like this little sac or something that they were supposed to see, and she just ended up apologizing and said, yes, you are experiencing a miscarriage. So at this point, I'm still lying in the bed covered up. I don't know how to feel. I don't know what to do. I was mourning again, back at stage 1 in mourning. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe that this was happening to me again. So my husband and I, we rode home basically in silence. And once we got home, I went to the living room. My husband went to the bedroom. And I couldn't sit down. I didn't want to sit down. My nerves was all over the place. My thoughts were all over the place. And my mind just kept replaying the happy thoughts that I had the day before, the week before. And it made my knees tremble. I literally fell to the ground. And I let out the most broken cry that I have ever released in my life, because I have never experienced anything like this. Yes, I've been hurt. Yes, some things have caused me pain, but I've never been broken. And at this point, I was broken by not just this instance, but this instance piled on top of all the other instances that has happened with us trying to conceive. And it was so striking. My cry was so striking. It was so loud and so broken that my husband came running out of the bedroom into the living room And he's like, what happened? He thought something literally happened to me. And I was trying to tell him, how hurt I was, but the words were all jumbled and it wasn't making any sense. And he was, just trying to pat me on the back, and, I didn't want his touch. And there was nothing that he could do or say to comfort me. And at this point, I was just inconsolable. I was wailing, at this point, because there was nothing else to do but accept and to just sit in what was going on, what God had allowed to happen. And I just could not believe that God had allowed this to happen to me. And I thought, the tide had turned in such a quick time. And I said, God blessed us, and then he took it away. God, why would you do that? And it's like my joy had came, but in the blink of an eye, my mourning had returned. And I just couldn't believe it. And this specific loss had altered my faith in God. It revealed that my armor had some cracks in it. This loss shook my core belief. This loss shook my confidence in God, to the point that I felt lost. I felt, that God had disappointed me. I felt God had deceived me, to a certain point, and I felt unloved by God. And I'm thinking, how do I serve a God who allowed this to happen to me again and again and again? And then on top of that, he deceived me into thinking that he was blessing me with something that I have been begging him for. How can I serve a God who has done this to me? For the next few months, I struggled with my faith in God. I struggled in my relationship with God real bad. But thanks be to my Heavenly Father that even though I wanted to let go, I wanted to throw in the towel, I wanted to go back, I wanted to tuck tail and run, he kept me, he held me, he comforted me, he counseled me. And although that hurt was still there, and although I'm going through, my ups and downs in my relationship with God, and I was still pushing, and there were some days where I could not even move spiritually, because this was so heavy on me. God, he kept loving me. He kept holding on to me. And for that, I'm just so thankful. So even with going through all that, I told my husband, I want to keep going. I want to keep trying. I want to move forward. Even in all that hurt that I was sitting in, I still wanted a baby. So fast forward to January 2020. My husband and I, we decided to give the IUI procedure a second try. This time we said, you know what, we are going to a sperm bank. Yes. So we went through the whole process of that, and we set up the appointment with the local infertility specialist again, and we thought that we were choosing our baby, the hair color, the eye color, the skin color. I mean, it was like build a baby at this point. So we thought that this would work, and we went through that. Everything seemed to go well. We were told to go home, do the 2-week wait, take a home pregnancy test. So I went home. I waited 2 weeks, and Aunt Flo came right on time. And it was basically no need to take a blood test, no need to take a home pregnancy test. So I ended up, just going to take a blood test again. I just went ahead and went on to get my lab work done, and just trying to follow protocol, because you never know. So they ended up calling me and saying, we're sorry, the test is negative. And I wasn't, I don't know how much hurt I could be. So I said, okay, thanks for calling, da 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 da. And I just sat back, and I just remember thinking, God, how much more are you going to put on me? How much more loss are you going to give me? That's what I was thinking. And again, my mind was everywhere. My feelings were everywhere. I was everywhere, because I just couldn't believe that this was happening to me. But thank God for his peace and his patience when I needed it most. So stay with me for the next episode to see if God continued to put more on me, or if he relieved me, or if he kept me right where I was. Stay with me. Here's how you can watch Purposeful Pressure.